Hi, and welcome to part 12 of the You Can Be Anything podcast skills series. I'm your host, Solange Che, and thanks again for joining me. Last week in part 11 of the podcast skills series, we talked about how you're supposed, because you're getting close to 3 months of learning a new skill, it is advisable to start getting hands-on, right? It is important that you start doing stuff. No matter what it is that you're learning, you want to be able to get hands-on. If you're in the tech world, you want to start looking for those real life business use cases and practice on them. If you are probably some kind of a trainer or a coach, you want to start giving free services, right? So that you can be able to experience what it will be like when you finally have real life clients. Today in part 12, this makes it 3 months since we started this podcast skills series. I want us to talk about transferable skills. Transferable skills is something that a lot of people don't put value in, but I just want you to know today that what you have learned in your life so far, your experiences, your journey is very important no matter where you find yourself. We don't put a lot of value on the skills that we have acquired before we got to where we are today, but I think that is something that we want to pay more attention to. Why do I talk about transferable skills? Sometimes we hear people talk about, hey, what I do now has nothing to do with my background. Again, I've always talked about myself. Remember that this is me. This is also babes. I will still bring examples from my life, right? You will hear me, I will say, okay, my background is in linguistics and now I am in Salesforce. I do Salesforce. Does it mean that because what I studied in linguistics, right, doesn't directly correlate with what I do today with Salesforce? Doesn't mean that my linguistics background has no value? No, that is wrong. When you studied whatever you studied at school as you were growing up, there are things you learned during that process that you can actually put into practice today. For example, I'm a researcher, right? Before learning about Salesforce, I was deep in research. I did intense language research, like the kind of research that I would travel to remote areas, the most remote areas you can think of in Cameroon, like trekking for a day and a half to go find the original version of a language in order to document it. So that resilience, you get it? That determination that I built during that time that I was doing my research, that is what I would call transferable skills, right? Today, I do Salesforce. Doesn't mean that it's being served on me on a platter of gold. Doesn't mean that it is easy. No, it doesn't. There is still some level of resilience that I need to bring or that I am bringing into my new career. There is that level of determination. And I believe that being able to go through the kind of research I did in Cameroon, in Acquire subdivision of Cameroon, if you know that part of Cameroon, you will know what I'm talking about, right? Actually had to look for people to trek with me because it was risky walking through the bushes alone. So I had to look for people to go with me, to accompany me. I paid people just because I wanted to get the original version of a language, right? That was how resilient I was. I had to put everything behind and say, hey, this is what I want and I need to get it. So again, why am I bringing in this story? This is just to show you that is something I did. That was my life. My life was research. Go do this stuff, come do the transcription, document it, do everything. That is what I did at that time. How have I been able to transfer those skills or the skills that I acquired while I was a researcher in my today's job? I still research, I still do research. We all know that in the tech world today, everything is evolving, right? Things are changing. The way people work with Salesforce 10 years ago, it has evolved. Things have changed. And how am I keeping myself up to date with these things? I do research. I know what I want. For example, if I am at work and I get challenged about something, what do? I go and I do some research about that. So I just want you to understand that please, again, I said this earlier on today in one of my other platforms, the importance, do not undervalue or devalue the education that you've had, even if you're not using those skills today. There is something about what you learned that you can bring over. For example, let's talk about people that do, I did some Scrum Master, right? I'm not a Scrum Master today, but have you ever imagined how these successful Scrum Masters, how they do it? Have you ever thought of that? The truth is, Scrum Master is a very involved job, right? It is a kind of, you manage people. It is that kind of, nobody is going to come into a course. I think when you're doing the Scrum Master course, nobody comes in there to they teach you your people management. These are things that I would say the most successful or the awesome Scrum Masters that I have worked with or have met, and they're doing great, are people who have interpersonal, like they have the people skill, right? It is a soft skill, but it is important. Being able to manage people, being able to tell people about what they can. Just a recap of what Scrum. I'm not a Scrum Master. I know a little bit about it, but I am not a professional. But what do? They manage people, right? They want you. They hold you accountable. Like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. Let's have a recap of what we did yesterday. What are you going to do today? So they need to be in a space where they can communicate with people like that and still have that grace. Because the truth is, as a Scrum Master, let's say for example, you're managing developers and stuff like that. The truth is, the way you ask a developer about what they are doing today or what they did yesterday, or when they are willing to give you an ETA or something, that kind of question, it needs you need some level of charisma. Otherwise, the developers are going to make your job hard for you. I wouldn't lie to you, that's the truth. So that is an example of a skill that if you're one person that is learning it, if you don't have this interpersonal, if you're not a people person, I bet you that it will be challenging. And that is something that you can learn. But again, it's also something that, considering where you're coming from, depending on what you learned, you studied when you were in school or stuff, you can transfer those skills. I'll say that I don't know if I'll make a great Scrum Master, but I'm not sure. I know for sure that I make a good consultant. I'm a great consultant because I know how to talk to people, right? I know how to relate with people. And I believe that is not something that when I started learning Salesforce, I was not taught that. That is my skill. That is something that I have learned with my life as a researcher, with my background as a researcher, with my background in research, that I've come in contact with other students. While I was doing my PhD, I had to talk with other students, even mentor other students that were on the same path that I was following. And I believe that all of that has helped me in my current job. So I want you to place more importance, like put more emphasis on your transferable skills. Even if, again, this is 3 months with you, considering that you started learning with me, this is 3 months gone. You're probably thinking of building your resume now or updating your resume. You want to be able to pull in those transferable skills, the soft skills that it's not only about technicality, it's not only about whether you can write formulas or whether you can write code or whether you can do great reports as a Scrum Master. No. How you deal with people, the way you talk, your charisma, the way your facial expressions, all those little things count. I wouldn't lie to you. So I want you to know that as you're getting on this journey, if you're a trainer, you have to be flexible, right? Again, when I bring my guests and we talk about things like this, they mention, as a trainer, you need to be flexible. You need to be able to know that even if you wake up on the bad side, you have to attend to a client. You're supposed to, I always refer to it as a chameleon, right? So you behave the way your client, like however your client comes to your meeting, you have to make sure that you're reflecting the way they behave. You have to adapt to the way they feel. Man, this is business we're talking about, right? So you have to be able to adapt to your clients. The same thing, I have to do that every day with my job as a consultant. If I get up one day and I'm talking to my clients and I realize that they are so They are not the same. Yesterday we were all jovial and talking about business, and today they come and they have a straight face and stuff. I have to make sure that I am adapting to the way they are. I will not come on a day that they don't crack any jokes or anything, and I come and I start talking and laughing and talking about how much wine I drank during the weekend. I will not do that. So this is again just to remind you that your transferable skills are very important, and please put them in your resumes. Make sure that even if you don't put them exactly, but when you talk during interviews, you want to be able to bring that part of you out. Because the truth is, yes, people are going to do jobs, but companies also want people. Like companies are trying, these days they're trying to put more importance on the people that work. It's not only about the job being done, it's about the people. So that's why you'll see companies giving little perks and benefits here and there. It's because the people that do these jobs are also very important. So please, if you studied history, biology, geology, philosophy, whatever it is that you studied while you were in school, and today you are learning a new skill, do not think that that thing that you studied while you're in school is useless. There are skills there. There are skills you learned there that you can still bring up today. Put them in the faces of your employers. Talk about them. Sometimes you just want to talk about an experience while you were in school or how you figured out something. Just know that your skills are not useless. Those transferable skills, your soft skills, are very important as you round up learning this new skill and you start looking for a job. I hope that you find some value in this, and I hope that you can actually be able to put your finger on those skills that you can use to your advantage. Right, and next week in part 13, we're going to be talking about something else. And for the meantime, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments or just reach out to me and we get going. Thanks again for being part of the You Can Be Anything podcast skill series, and I'll see you next week. Be blessed and be good to each other. Bye-bye.